I don't think I've ever dug these out and showed them to you, but I picked these up a couple, 3 years ago just because they were like, I think I paid 15, 20 bucks for them. They're just old steel, chrome, Edelbrock stamped Ford small block valve covers. Got just a tad bit of surface rust in the corners, which I'm not really concerned. That one's kind of dirty on the inside. I'm going to go clean them up. I just got the silicone off. What I want to do though is, like I said, these things are super cheap, and aluminum valve covers are, for a good set, are kind of expensive. And these things are, you know, I wouldn't say tore smooth up, although they both have dents back there. They must have been missing something, or attempting to miss something. I don't know what it was, but they both have baffles. That's what I was really looking for. A lot of the aluminum aftermarket ones, if you don't want to spend the $200+ for them, don't have the baffles, and I prefer to have them. It just stops oil from getting up inside your breathers and stuff, and it has it on both sides. So anyway, well, what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take, because this is something that is a super common problem. Small block Chevys are the worst, and because I'm a Chevy guy and I've lived this before, you buy something used, and you know, especially the stamped steel ones, you know that they have been over tightened likely, and they're wavy and they're not flat and everything. You got to get those things as flat as possible, and try to stop from smashing them too far. It actually is a better idea to use a full rubber gasket instead of the cork. They just seem to be a little more user friendly. The problem is silicone will stick to the rubber if they don't have oil on them. Silicone will stick to the head as long as they don't have oil on them, because they're very porous, and don't mind that. This chrome crap though, it doesn't stick to that, at least not well. So it's a good idea when you get them. The baffles are kind of, you got to make sure you got a way to clean these things clear out. What you're hearing there is because I've got it on top of spark plugs and bolts and stuff. This thing isn't loose. You got to be able to clean this clear out, or shove some rags down in here. And then what I would do is take some pretty ugly grit sandpaper and just go around the inside edge all the way around to scuff that up, to give something for that the silicone to adhere to. These are pretty flat. It doesn't look like somebody really abused these, and Ford has multiple bowl holes instead of the Chevy 4. You know, these things have 6, and they don't leak as bad as the Chevys do. But any of them, it's just a good idea. They don't really, you know, they're not really pretty, and you can see they're also not super flat. When they do that stamping, it, you know, crinkles that metal up. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some 80 grit or something I got laying around here, and I'm going to sand these first. I'm going to take them in the house. My wife she's not home. I'm going to take these in and give them the old Dawn dishwasher treatment inside and out, and we'll bring them out and I'll show you kind of what they look like, and then we'll go a little bit further and try to make them look a little better than this, because they're pretty rough. So I'll bring you back in a minute. Alright, I want to bring you back real quick and show you, I washed them, and they helped, but it did not get rid of all the, what I'm going to call, starting of surface rust. So I actually used a pretty much a single odd or 1/0 or whatever it was SOS pad that had the soap on it, and it helped more. But as you can see, it's still, they're both the same. They're both pretty rough. I did take 80 grit sandpaper and went around all the edges before I cleaned it, because these things had not, although they had been installed on an engine, I don't think they were run. And the reason I say that is it still has the Made in Taiwan sticker on it. Had this thing been running, there's no sign of like oil bakage or whatever, if you want to call it. And first couple of heat cycles with oil getting on that would have went away. So these, although had been mounted, had never actually been run. Doesn't appear anyway. So they must have used these for mock-up, or they did something and got rid of the car, got rid of the engine, got rid of something, but they beat both valve covers in, and or at least one had been dropped, if that makes any sense. So I'm not really sure. Okay, so I'm going to get my drill and some polishing, rubbing compound first, and try it. If you use a steel wool, and same way with sandpaper in the bottom of that, like I told you to do, or what I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that's what I do to them to make sure that they seal. Especially, like I said, on a small block Chevy stuff is so cheap compared to Ford stuff. You could actually buy an aftermarket standard welded. The aluminum valve covers for a small block Chevy for half of what a small block Ford is. At least last time I checked. It's been a while. But I would recommend going with aluminum valve covers in any case, no matter what engine you use, especially though a small block Chevy. But anyway, with that said, I'm going to set up here in a minute when I can get a spot cleaned off where I can set this up, and we'll see what we can do about making this even better. Like I said, for 15, 20 bucks, whatever I paid for them, I still got to get bolts and washers, which I can get at, any of the hardware stores, because I don't think the factory ones, the factory ones may work, but they're not very pretty. Not that it has to be pretty, but they're, some of them are set up to have where your plug wires run on them, and I may utilize something like that, but I doubt it. But I mean, the standard bolts would work, and so I may. That's what they are. That's what I'm trying to show you in there. But I'll have to check the thickness of that valve cover compared to this. As far down in that, the head, how thick the gasket, da 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 da. So those may work, those may not. But anyway, so I'm going to get cleaning them up. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to look decent, because they're going to be underneath an engine. They're going to get covered with garbage. I would personally, this is my recommendation, if it's a tight fit or straps are going to be rubbing on them, or there's going to be a lot of pressure on them because of where you're bolting whatever sling or chain or whatever it is you're going to be using, if you're not going to be using the center of the like on the I don't know where my 402 is. I've got them on several engines that were carbureted. If you're not going to be using a lift plate like that right there, if you're not going to be using one of them, you don't know where you're going to end up bolting to. The LS is one of the worst to try to find something to bolt to and not, mess it up. I would keep the old valve covers, clean up the inside of them, don't gasket them, but put them on as soon as you get your rack and stuff on. Now, if they're too tall, sometimes that just won't work. If you're going with a taller system than what the factory. These are taller than what the factory. I know it's laying on the side. You can't tell what I'm talking about, but see, there's the back side of that one's upside down. But either way, I use them for multiple reasons. I put them on, cleaned up without the gasket generally, and I bolt them down. And then I use, when I paint the engine, I leave those on there to paint, because I'm not going to use them. It doesn't make a difference if they get crap on them or not, or paint or whatever. But if you put these on, you have to mask around them and a whole mess of stuff. Then when it comes to install, if you're going to be fighting it, it'd be better to use the old valve covers, because if you, first off, those are shorter. They're going to go in a little bit easier. If you don't have space, that's one thing, where you may not be able to put them on. Once they're in, depends on what engine you're putting in something that doesn't belong in. But in this case, it's a good idea to keep the old ones for a couple of reasons. To paint, to install the engine, you don't have to worry about boogering them up. And then when your engine's in, ready to go, then you can put these on. You won't finger them all up. They won't get all dented or scuffed or scratched or whatever. Then you can put them on before you put your plug wires on or whatever it is, and you're done. And they still look good. So anyway, that's just a thought. I'll bring you back when we start cleaning. I want to bring you back really quick. I just did one off camera. I'm going to do one on. But I just want to show you the difference. This is the one I did. Now, mind you, it's got scratches and stuff. That's why they were so cheap. But compared to this one, I know that it's shiny off of it because of light and the chrome and stuff, but you could really tell the difference between that. And there's still a few spots I could clean up, but it's going to have a cap on here with a rubber deal in it. It's going to be hard to see. Now, I'm actually going to put a coat or two of wax on these also. I know it sounds stupid, but it will kind of help out once they're done. But I just wanted to show you real quick. Now, I'll put you on the tripod. I have somebody going to be coming by here looking at a couple of LS parts. And I want to try to... I'll step in front of you real quick. What I used, since I don't have enough space to do anything in here still, I used the 2x4 on my table. Clamped it down. Let me turn you around so I can see what you're saying. Yeah, there we go. And I'm actually using, this is the wheel for doing headlight restored, and I'm just using a turtle wax. I don't even know how old it is. It's got spiders hanging off of it. Rubbing compound. You can use about anything, but it needs to be, with as damage as it is, the rubbing compound's not. Okay, let me rephrase that. You can damage a chrome surface. You can damage any surface with abrasive. I don't care what you put on it. If you spin this thing and it touches something, you're going to change what it is. I don't care what it is. So be prepared. Check it in a spot you're not going to see. Like this particular one will probably be on the, well, I don't know which side. It probably doesn't make a difference at this point. But let's just say I know this is going to be the back. So I might practice here in this spot just see what it does. And if you're really concerned, instead of using a drill, you can use a snot rag, wipe it on there, you know, kind of get it in there really good, you know, wipe it around for a little bit and wipe it dry, see what it looks like. You know, you're not out anything. This is one of them things that I cannot make this any worse than it already is. That's what I'm looking at. So, and if I absolutely don't like these or they start rusting out 6 months, a year, 5 years, I mean, I can replace them at that point. I just had these laying around, I'm not doing anything with them. So you might as well make do with some of the stuff you have. I just put a little bit on there. A little bit more on the deal. Make a little bit of noise, but not bad. Smear it around. Don't turn it on wide open either. When you first start, you're going to wear in half of it. Oh, I'm sorry, go stand in front of the camera and look my snot rags over here. Alright. Pretty painless. I haven't done the edges yet. This is just the top. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. I did the one end by hand. And then my guy just showed up looking for parts, so I have to get off here pretty quick, but getting in these little cracks are the hardest things to do. And like I said, this is never going to be perfect because this chrome was scuffed and everything like that. But you can definitely tell a difference. So there you go. I'll bring you back in just a minute. Alright, company's gone. Sold him at 4.8 and wiring harness and accessories, intake, computer that I had laying around. This thing's in my way anyway. So I told him, I said, I've got a 5.3 sitting over there, or a 4.8, and he's wanting to build a turbo engine. And I told him, I said, I don't know how well the factory computer will. I think it's probably only good to like 500, 600 horse, maybe not even that. And you're probably going to have to step up to a Holley system or something like that. But I said, if you're just getting started and wanting to kind of get it all together and learn the ins and outs and stuff like that, I said, you know, you can use this factory stuff. It ain't no big deal. But anyway, all right, well, I've done the front or top, as you kind of saw. Now we're going to do, I'm only going to do the edge that everybody can see. And in this particular case, where it says Edelbrock, no matter what side of the engine you put it on, the Edelbrock needs to be, script needs to be right. Obviously, you can't put it on any other way. So I'm doing the ends also, but I'm doing them by hand. I have to see which one is least deformed. Like this one's got a dent here, so this will probably go to the back. I could beat it out, but there's probably going to be scuffs there, and I just don't want to mess with it. But the tops, as that thing is sitting there, you can kind of see this part here on both sides. This bottom side where the exhaust is going to be, where right now is on the table, you're really not going to see it. If you want to spend time cleaning it, I mean, obviously you can do that, but once you put accessories on there, and you're going to have headers, and the plug wires are going to be kind of running on top of it and stuff, you're really not going to see that compared to the rest of it. Especially the top is what is really going to do, you know, that's the shock and awe effect, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and continue on here a bit. This is a little more difficult because of the this being in the way, but it's kind of how it works sometimes. And on the ends here, I didn't try to actually use the tool on it. I actually just used the old snot rag method, and it did a fine job. This almost lost a good one. So anyway, let's do it again. Easy, all are done. Got it. I need my right hand to do this. All right. Now the chrome is very poor, and so that's what you run into when you buy Taiwanese or Chinese stuff. It's just the way it works, and I don't care if it says Edelbrock or Holley or anything else. Most of that stuff isn't made here. You know, I know Edelbrock on their intakes prided themselves on saying it was made here in the States, but that doesn't mean every part that says Edelbrock does. So just keep that in mind. Not cussing anybody. I mean, you're going to make everything as cost effective as possible. This is not the snot rag I used. Where is it? There it is. All right. Coming by again. Sorry. Like normal, crappy camera work. So what I'm going to do here is, not that you're centered up any better. Just going to take just a little bit of this stuff, and we're going to do this end. Hopefully my big head's not rode, because I don't know which end is. I'm sure it's going to be the other end, but I'm just showing you what I'm doing here. I could have gone a little harder with the Scotch, with the SOS pad when I was cleaning earlier in the house, but I definitely didn't want to leave a bunch of scratches that you could really see. And I'm not sure I didn't, because like I said, I don't remember even what hot that is. I think it's pretty rough. They make them all different ones without the soap on it. So but if you go to swap meets or Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or just your buddy next door or the neighbor, I mean, you can find this stuff just about anywhere relatively cheap, because not everybody, eventually they either get out of it or they grow up. Like I'll never do that, I guess, and then something like that, and they'll end up with the stuff where they upgrade, whatever you want to call, or they actually ended up getting them somehow. I'll do here in the center just a little bit while we're here. What little bit's left on the snot rag here. But this stuff is available everywhere and really inexpensive. So anytime, I mean, I didn't even own a small block Ford when I got these, but it's like I couldn't pass it up for that price. So, all right. There's a few handprints on her now where I was hanging on to it. And I'm going to put a couple of coats of wax on these. I really like to wait for a sunny day. But, and I need to really do this lip right here too a little bit better, but there you go. It's not brand new, it's not perfect, But for 15, 20 bucks, whatever I paid for it, and I mind you, I haven't done this side because you're not going to really see it. I might do it anyway, just off camera, because it's really not that big of a deal to do. But you see how poor that chrome is, especially. It doesn't even hardly looks like it's chrome there. It's just a little bit shiny. Not like that, where you can actually read stuff in it. Like I said, they're still scuffed and stuff, and it's like that's got something chipped out of it or whatever. But like I said, this is going to be perfect for this car. And I don't like it here in the future. It'll always be replaced. So don't ever give up on this stuff, even if it's got some surface rust on it. Worse than what this was. This was actually just starting, but they'd never been outside. Had they been outside, it would have done worse, obviously. But even if they do have a bit of surface rust on them, take them in and take your steel wool to them and stuff like that. It might scuff them up a little bit, but it usually takes that rust out. I've even seen people put Coca-Cola on them and stuff like that. I'm not sure I'd use that rust inhibitor on her, because I don't know what it would do. The rust of chrome may make it flake off. I don't know what it would do. Again, that's something you want to experiment with. Just don't grab and go, because you just don't know. But in this case, this is perfect for what I need. So anyway, don't ever give up on it. You never know what what 20 bucks will buy.